All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Make sure you check out Pig and a Pickle. Two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, Dane Brugler, the NFL draft guide, the NFL draft guru, I should say, who covers the draft for The Athletic, is one of the best in the business. And his scouting report or his book of scouting reports is really, really good. I would recommend it to anybody. And we're going guy by guy. And this one, we're going to go with Robert Beal Jr., the Georgia defensive end, who the 49ers drafted in the latest draft. Let's talk a little bit about Beal Jr. 6'3", about 247 pounds. Really interesting player. He played basketball as a kid, but switched to football in the 6th grade. So he was all into basketball until the 6th grade and then said, you know what, I'm jumping to football. He's also an avid bowler. So there you go. 49ers have a bowling event. They can get Robert Beal Jr. to be a ringer. Interestingly enough, he was homeschooled by his family. You don't see that all the time. But yeah, indeed, they're seeing that more and more. And he was homeschooled. He wound up playing offensive tackle, wide receiver, and tight end. So he went to Norcross High School and then transferred to the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida in May of 2016, and then transferred again to be closer to home and to go to Peachtree Ridge High School in Gwinnett County midway through his senior season. So, interesting player for sure. He did track and field, through the shot put and the discus. 4-star high school recruit. One of the better prospects. I think he was the 11th rated prospect in the state of Georgia his senior year. Very, very heavily recruited. Everybody wanted this kid out of high school. And he initially committed to go to Notre Dame. But then he decommitted and decided to go to Georgia. And, basically he was homesick. I don't think he wanted to leave Georgia. He's from Georgia. I think he loved the idea of going to Notre Dame and playing in South Bend. And then he got closer to actually doing it. And I think he just probably decided he wanted to live closer to home. And he wound up playing 6 seasons for the Georgia Bulldogs. He only had 10.5 sacks in his career at Georgia. He only made 10 starts. Didn't start consistently for the Dogs. And then this year played in the East-West Shrine game. But he's a very intriguing prospect because of his traits. And you heard John Lynch say that Kirby Smart told him, hey, look, if you ask this guy to drop into coverage, no, he ain't going to, it's not his game. But if you just want him to set the edge against the run, and if you want him to bend the edge as a pass rusher, and that's really all you're going to ask him to do, he's great at that. And the 49ers in their wide 9 that they utilize under Chris Kocurek, that's what they're looking for their edge rushers to do. They're not you're not seeing Nick Bosa dropping into coverage. He's burning the edge. You didn't see D Ford drop into coverage that much. He's burning the edge. And if they're not burning the edge as pass rushers, they're using their strong hands to set the edge in the run game. And that is, I think, what the 49ers feel like Robert Beal Jr. potentially can do and do really, really well. He's got 10 1/8 hands, big, strong hands. He's got a huge wingspan. We're talking about 83 3/4 inch wingspan. It's got to be one of the bigger wingspans of anybody that's rushing them off the edge coming into this draft this year. Then you look at the combine. He goes to Indy. He ran 4.44. And I think at the pro day, it was a little slower, but it was still sub 4.5. I mean, we're talking about 4.48 at the pro day, 4.44 at the combine. He's got unbelievable first step burst, and he's got great lateral quickness. Really, really strong hands to set the edge in the run game. What he needs is development. Doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves. Needs to develop moves, counters. So when he's stonewalled, he's a speed rusher. He's going to try to get to the edge. When he can't get to the edge, then what? Does the play end? Does he have any counter moves at all? So he needs to develop more counter moves. He needs more technique development. He hasn't played a lot of football, 10 starts. And, yet he did lead Georgia in sacks with 6.5, his second to last year in Athens, which is incredible because Trayvon Walker went number 1 in the draft on that same defense. So the year that Trayvon goes number 1 to Jacksonville, Robert Beal Jr. actually led the Dogs in sacks that year. But he definitely needs to develop technique. He definitely needs to develop some counter moves. And it's not like he's had some problems off the field. But he's a little bit older as a prospect, 24 as a rookie, and that's not totally that's not something that you don't see a lot of right now, because you're seeing that a lot in this draft, in the last draft, and probably the next draft, because you got a lot of kids that, were granted one extra year of eligibility because of COVID. So COVID has a lot of, for the COVID reason, there's a number of rookies coming into the league that are maybe a year older than they would normally be. So that's just kind of normal. But this guy definitely doesn't have great instincts. He lacks some instincts, but the tools, he definitely lacks instincts. He definitely lacks technique. And he was a part-time player. He was a part-time player at outside backer. And in Georgia's defense, they're asking their outside backers to drop and cover. They're asking their outside backers to do a number of things. In the 49ers system, it's going to be streamlined. He's not going to be asked to do all those things. He's going to be able to just set the edge in the run game and shoot up the field and bend the edge as a pass rusher. And Kirby thinks he can do it. And the Niners are hoping they can catch, lightning in a bottle. He's got great tools. This is the guy that passes the eyeball test. And we're talking about a guy who's, 6'3", 250 with 4.4 speed and huge hands and an 83, almost 84-inch wingspan. So the tools are there. Now it's all about, can Chris coach him up, simplify things, and allow him to play fast? If he can, they might have a player who could be a significant contributor as a rookie. The one thing this year with the 49ers is you got Nick Bosa and you got Drake Jackson. And then after that, Cleveland Farrell doesn't have a lot of sack production. 10 sacks in 4 seasons. It's not a lot. Austin Bryant really was thought to be a really good edge rusher coming out of Clemson. Has been kind of hit and miss. So Robert Beal, if Robert Beal is a player, if Beal can, come firing out of his stance and, get upfield and set the edge against the run and really put some heat on the quarterback, as a pass rusher, and utilize some of that 4.4 speed, and really hunt quarterbacks, he could be a significant player for them this year. Or he could be a guy that, needs to be on the practice squad and needs a year to develop. The one thing the Niners are gambling on here, a lot of teams do this in day 3. They gamble on traits. The traits that this kid has are huge hands, long arms, and 4.44 speed. He's got a first step burst that can't be taught. He's got lateral quickness that is really top of the scale. There's a lot to love about Robert Beal Jr. as an athlete. The question is, can they simplify their scheme enough? Can they ask him to do just what he's good at and get the best out of Robert Beal Jr.? We're going to find out this summer. So I will say this. If Beal is ready to contribute, they have a need off the edge, and they'll utilize him, and he'll get run this year. It's not like he's buried in a numbers game where he may not make the roster or he's not going to get on the field. If Robert Beal can, burn that edge and get to the quarterback, if he can show that 4.4 speed, if he can put some heat opposite Bosa, especially because, whoever is opposite Bosa is going to get singled all year. Hargrave's going to get doubled. Armstead's going to get doubled from time to time. Bosa, is going to get doubled. Whoever's starting opposite Bosa on this line is going to get one-on-one all year long. So that's why I've got great hope for Drake Jackson. And it's also why I think there's a chance that Robert Beal Jr. could be one of the real surprises for the 49ers, because he's going to get a lot of single coverage and he's got tremendous measurables. All right, hope you enjoyed the 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.